It's going to be Max Holloway's night, and then there'll be good things to come. He said it this week. We talked about it before coming on air. He's talking about throwing his name in the Conor McGregor hat. He's saying, look, I knocked out Charlie Olives inside 90 seconds, guys. That's the lightweight champion right now. I got bigger fish to fry than just getting my featherweight belt back. And welcome to Monkey Knife Fight Live. Folks, I'm Connor Roundtree, and we're joined by AJ Shulo, AJMMABetting.com. That means we're talking a little UFC. And we were talking before coming on air, AJ, one of the more stacked fight night cards that we've seen this year easily could be a pay-per-view.
Oh, for sure. I mean, from top to bottom, pay-per-view worthy. Yeah, I mean, we're used to it, right? You know, back-to-back pay-per-views, and then we're back to the apex here. It's a good thing. We talked about this on a recap on a Saturday night, felt like such a long time ago, but you know, having fight night cards, yeah, they're not going to be as high quality as the pay-per-views, but it also adds to the aura of having a pay-per-view when they come around once every month. So fight nights are good. I know that name value wise, they aren't as strong, but they're good to mix in. We got some fighters that we could do our homework on, say that maybe the more casual fans don't get exposed to until those pay-per-view events. Yeah, we got some prospects, some intriguing fights here. Excited to dive into them with you.
Yeah, well, one thing that you did note on was the fact we're coming off a pay-per-view, but back-to-back pay-per-view weekends, and then followed up by, as we just said, arguably the best fight night card of the year. Like, the excitement around the UFC right now is palpable, and one of the most exciting fighters on the roster, Max Holloway. The Blessed Express, baby. Yair Rodriguez, this is going to be a great fight. Obviously, Yair Rodriguez known for his kicks. And I think his one path to victory here, if there is one, would be trying to slow Holloway down with some leg kicks. We saw Volk have some success with that and really try to base Holloway's movement. The problem is I don't think he does that before Holloway gets into his rhythm, before the Blessed Express gets rolling. And in which case, he's landing strikes left, right, and center. I like both these guys to go for more than their totals on Monkey Knife Fight because I think it's going to be a long one. But it's just Holloway, TKO. Rodriguez doesn't come in for the fifth round. Doesn't get off his stool at the end of the fourth. That's my prediction. But I like the more on both these guys because I think Rodriguez is going to have maybe win the first round. But after that, it's just going to be Max Holloway just pouring it on. Best boxer in the UFC. 445 strikes last fight.
I like it. Yeah. I like it, man. Significant strikes. Yeah, Yair, he's a kicker, right? He excels at kicking range, a black belt in Taekwondo. That's how he has his success in the UFC. He's only lost to Frankie, and he was losing to Chan Sung Jung. That should be noted up until that ridiculous spinning back elbow that still to this day is mind-blowing how that happened at the very last second, mind you, for those that missed it. Go back and watch it if you don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, he's like a showman type guy. Like he's very exciting and flashy, but I don't exactly trust him against a guy like Holloway, who has much better boxing, as you pointed out, a much better pace, output, and should be able to effectively deploy the strategy of quote unquote crowding the kicker, just getting in his face, taking those distance strikes away from Rodriguez and just getting in his face, and really just kind of making it a tough fight for him. I know that Rodriguez is one of the better fighters in the division, but I really do question him coming in here over a 2-year layoff, ankle injury, USADA related. He didn't really, from what I read, he didn't really just notify USADA of his whereabouts. He wasn't actually found guilty of anything. Just want to clear that up. But it's a concern nonetheless. And you go against a guy like Holloway, who's not rusty at all, coming off the best performance of his career. I think the fight should be contested on the feet. I think that Holloway should be able to get the pocket where he has the advantage. So I think he is rightfully favored. However, the projection that I made for Holloway is coming in quite a bit less at the 187.5 strike margin. At least that's when we were first given this assignment. I don't know what it's moved to now, but I have Holloway projected at 153, rounding up there, and I have Rodriguez projected at 187. So both less. I agree with you that it should be an extended fight. But when I put the numbers to the matchup and projected fight time, I do get a projection for less and less for both guys. Don't think we'll see any clinch exchanges here. No ground exchanges. Both guys prefer to keep it upright. Both guys have decent takedown defense. So yeah, I'm going to go with less and less. I think that Holloway continues the Blessed Express.
Yeah, I have to take the more and more because I saw that beating that Chan Sung Jung, the Korean zombie, laid on Yair Rodriguez before. That elbow. Oh, man. I was just watching that fight from, I watched it this morning, actually. I've been watching Holloway fights into this afternoon, but man, oh man, that Yair Rodriguez elbow, like that was such an awesome fight. But I'm totally with you. He was losing that fight against the Korean Zombie. And if you're losing against the Korean Zombie, you're not going to beat Max Holloway, not after a layoff, not this version of Max Holloway. That was something that we noted too. He seems the best that he's ever been. I have to take the more and the more because I think Max is going to draw the fight out of him. He wants a money fight. He's going to want to engage in this fight. I think we're going to see Max pointing at the middle of the octagon, this fight going to the middle of the octagon, and these two guys standing toe to toe. And it's going to be an awesome showing. But I mean, outside of the leg kicks, which we both said that Holloway is going to pressure and close in, those aren't really going to be effective. AJ, do you think there is a path for Yair Rodriguez to victory? Because I personally, I don't see it.
Yeah, well, he's got to do whatever he can to keep Holloway out of the pocket, right? He's got to keep Holloway kicking distance. So it's a possibility he can maybe hurt Holloway, but that doesn't seem very likely. Holloway's got one of the best chins in the UFC. Even when he gets rocked, he recovers right away. So it just seems like a very, very tough style matchup for Rodriguez. I get it that he is a good fighter, and you look at his resume, he's only lost to Frankie Edgar. However, it's just, you can't just look at the grand scheme of things and go, oh, well, Yair has a good winning record in the UFC, therefore he's this stellar top 5 fighter. He lost round 3 to Jeremy Stephens because he got tired. He allowed Stephens to close the distance, and Stephens took him down and boxed him up a little bit. Similar to we talked about the Chan Sung Jung fight. Jung effectively pressured. And Jung, as you pointed out, is not nearly as effective at doing that as Holloway. He's just a lot more flat-footed than Holloway. And Holloway's just a lot more aggressive with the pace and the output and things like that. So I agree with you. It would be a very slim path of victory for Rodriguez.
Yeah, everything you said there just makes so much sense that it's going to be Max Holloway's night, and then there'll be good things to come. He said it this week. We talked about it before coming on air. He's talking about throwing his name in the Conor McGregor hat. He's saying, look, I knocked out Charlie Olives inside 90 seconds, guys. That's the lightweight champion right now. I got bigger fish to fry than just getting my featherweight belt back, because realistically, he took Aldo out, who probably was the featherweight GOAT. Holloway is the featherweight GOAT, in my opinion, especially after that performance that he put on against Calvin Kattar. Especially because Calvin Kattar was saying, I'm the best boxer in the UFC going in, and then Holloway's talking to him in the octagon. Well, literally marinating his face in leather. Just awesome stuff. But moving into the co-main event now, the big boys. Now, you want to talk about constant pace. I mean, no Max Holloway pace, but Ben Rothwell will be in your face for a good chunk of the fight. Like, I mean, if you're going to have a fight go long between two heavyweights, it's Ben Rothwell, and Marcos Rogerio de Lima. So, Rogerio de Lima, pardon me. I actually like the more and more here because I think Rogerio de Lima is going to chase that takedown. I think Ben Rothwell is going to be too big for him. Seeing de Lima fight at smaller weight classes. So I got to go for the more and more, because I don't know if Ben Rothwell necessarily has that finishing power, but yeah, distance guy, pressure guy, volume guy. I see a lot of strikes. I'm the suckers bet on Monkey Knife Fight this weekend, folks. Full blown sucker bet. Holloway more. Hand away Moores.
So who's your prediction? Are you going with Rothwell?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rothwell. I think when de Lima tries Rogerio de Lima tries to get into the wrestling game, I think Ben Rothwell is just going to be too big, lean on him. It's going to tire out de Lima, and then it's just going to be a striking game.
Okay. Yeah, I like Rothwell too. I have concerns about him just being 40 and just really slow at this point and crazy hittable. But de Lima, like his wins, like, yeah, he's knocking guys out in the first round. I guess he could knock out Rothwell. He throws really hard, and he's more durable probably, but he gasses so early. I mean, he just expends so much energy, and then you put him in one compromising position and he quits a lot of the time. And that's just a concern. Rothwell doesn't really quit. He'll fight hard, even if he's losing. He'll fight through the adversity and still try and hunt you down. Rothwell has not looked good since coming back from his USADA suspension back in 2019. But look, I mean, he usually has at least a good round one. He comes out strong. He's still reasonably powerful at this point. He'll walk you down, get in your face, He's not a cardio machine, but I trust him much more than DeLima here. And if this fight hits the ground at any point and Rothwell ends up in top position, I think he's going to make DeLima tap. Rothwell, very good with his front chokes, and DeLima, as we've seen, he's been submitted. All 5 of his UFC losses have come by submission, and it's just been basically lock something up and he's tapping almost instantly. I'm actually going to go with the less and less here. When I put the projection and then combine the stats with the projection of this fight going 12 and a half minutes, which I think there's even a case it could go less. Based on DeLima's rep, I do see quite a bit less for Rothwell. I have him projected at 47. I have DeLima projected at 40. Going to go with less and less. I could see this fight being ended up with one big strike. One guy ends up out, or Rothwell just takes this thing to the ground, locks up a choke, and then that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. That could happen. I see both these guys, the duration and the fatigue playing in. As you said, Rothwell over 40. I don't trust Rogério DeLima's cardio at all. And one thing that we just have to talk about, because I think I saw it on your Twitter. How about the streak? If we date back, let's jump back to 2014 here. 7 years. December 2014, DeLima gets a win. Then he loses. Then he wins. Then he loses. Then he wins. Fast forward to now, 11 times back and forth. He just won a fight, so my money's on the loss coming up. AJ, is there I know as an analyst, we obviously don't take that into consideration, but at some point in your mind, is that just not a voodoo thing in your career where it's like, I'm going to lose this next fight? Oh, I know I'm going to win. I'm going to lose, but I'm going to win the next one. Like, what's going on?
Well, one thing that we know is, some people do like to bet the streak, but we also are aware of the fact that trends do break. I remember Randa Marcos, up until her recent skid, she was trading wins and losses for years, and then she, lost consecutive fights. I think the Mackenzie Dern fight was the one that lost her her second consecutive fight in a row. That is. So it does happen. It would be, I guess, funny if it continues to happen, but at the same time, I don't really factor it in more than the style matchup. I don't think it's more important than pretty much everything else. It's a cool, I poke fun at it, just like I poked fun at, like the violence bets this past week and a fighter's touching gloves, basically, consider the ticket loss sort of thing. I'm mostly just having fun with it. I don't actually think it's a serious thing that I handicap into my process.
Yeah, no, me neither. It's just something that we absolutely had to touch on. I mean, what are the odds that for 7 years, this guy's just been skipping back and forth? Well, AJ, let's get into the knockout kings now, because speaking of skipping around back and forth, is DeLima one of your picks?
He is, and I'll explain why, but I'm curious to hear your picks before I share mine.
All right, well, I'll rattle them off for you. So there's a guy on this card. Here's a history lesson. History with Mr. Sports with Tree, as Jason calls me. Song Yadong. All right, so when you and I were when we were turned 10, right? We were probably in grade 6, grade 5, grade 6, learning, 5 + 5, 2 + 2, all that fun stuff. Song Yadong at 10 years old, his mom put him into a martial arts academy. I'm not talking like an academy after school. I'm talking 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day. This guy was training martial arts from the age of 10. He's taking on Julio Arce. Julio Arce has a win over Dan Ige. This fight's going to be fireworks. It's going to be strung out. It's going to be long. But Song Yadong with the late knockout, because the guy's a trained assassin. He's got awesome boxing. I'm riding with Song Yadong. I got Holloway. I saw that you had Holloway, and I think Felicia Spencer is going to ruin Leah Leston's face. There's no way you can take 3 years off like Leah Leston and come in against Felicia Spencer and win that fight. I think Felicia Spencer is going to get on top of her and literally pummel her into submission. TKO finish, Felicia Spencer. Spencer went 5 rounds getting peppered by Amanda Nunes. I know she just lost to Dumont, but Leston, what are you doing since 2018? What have you been doing for 3 years? I'll tell you one thing, you haven't been fighting. Spencer, knockout finish.
I like it. Yeah. This was a really tough week for Knockout Kings too.
It is. Yeah. Spencer is not a knockout artist by any which means. It's just, I see 3 years off. I see a championship contender. Do the math.
And I think that's a good thing for the players because I think we could see somebody honestly win the prize solo because there aren't really any options that are obvious other than maybe Holloway. Unlike these last two pay-per-view events, they're like, oh yeah, Chimaev, Makhachev, Volkov, like literally left and right of like these big favorites that have good finish props. You're like, oh yeah, just mix and match. But this week it was very, very difficult. To touch up on your earlier point, yes, I picked DeLima despite me picking Rothwell to win. Let me explain why. If DeLima wins this fight, I have to think he gets it done by knockout. He throws really hard. He's really aggressive early. And one thing I noticed with Rothwell is he's crazy hittable. Like Andrei Arlovsky landed in the rematch that is like recently, the recent rematch with Arlovsky. Arlovsky landed 150 plus significant strikes and even rocked Rothwell at times. OSP hurt him. Rothwell has generally been durable, but as mentioned, he just hasn't looked the same since coming back from his layoff. He's so crazy hittable and is more easy to hurt these days. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that DeLima cracks him hard early and then possibly gets a knockout there. So I'm going to go with DeLima. Next, you mentioned it, Holloway. I think that and this is another kind of contrarian take of mine because I'm kind of like doing a hedge here. I picked Holloway to win by decision. However, I could easily see him winning by knockout, not necessarily from like one big shot putting Rodriguez out, but like an accumulation. He wears Rodriguez out. Rodriguez just can't take the pressure anymore. He begins to fold. He did look like he was beginning to melt in round 3 against Jeremy Stephens. And Jeremy Stephens is not nearly as effective as pressuring as Holloway. He doesn't have nearly the output. So Rodriguez doesn't address that. He comes in looking a little rusty. I think you could spell a stoppage for Holloway.
Yeah.
And last, but certainly not least, is Chaos Williams. And this is another one where I'm going on the opposite side of my pick. I picked Baeza to win, but look, if Chaos gets his hand raised here, I think it's probably because he uses his very good hand speed and power to clip Baeza, because Baeza has been clipped because he doesn't have good head movement, and we have seen him rocked badly by Matt Brown. So yeah, I'm going to go with Williams, Holloway, DeLima. Tough week for you guys. So again, I think it's a good week to be contrarian. I think the person that wins the Knockout Kings this week, if it happens, does so solo.
Yeah, and it's not very often over the last few weeks that you and I have gone. We have the one pick with Holloway, and I actually do think Holloway, I said it right. I think he is going to get the finish. I just think it's going to be kind of the Brian Ortega situation. Ortega, Rodriguez, they're feeling good about themselves going into the Holloway fight. They think they have something nobody else had. And then you're going to run into the Blessed Express. And after that 4th round, like I was saying, I watched the Korean Zombie fight earlier. He didn't look like he wanted to come off the stool against Zombie into that 5th round. Ortega didn't get up for the 5th round. Holloway has an effect on people. And I think you got a good read there. I don't think it would be one prolific shot. It will be the volume adding up. So yeah, that one totally makes sense too. And one that one fight that I just want to touch on because it could be a knockout is Lyanna Jojua versus Courtney Casey. Now this could be a rotate in for your knockout kings because Lyanna Jojua is speaking about people who just didn't get off the stool. I think she's more interested into her Instagram modeling career, and it's not a shot at her as a fighter because she just didn't get off the stool when she realized like she was not really in the Miranda Maverick fight. Not too much damage was done. She just didn't get off the stool for the 2nd round. Courtney Casey's 9-9. She's a junkyard dog kind of fighter. She's going to make this ugly, and I don't think Jojua is going to want to stay in there with Courtney Casey. What's your read on that one, AJ?
Wow, I like it. Yeah.
So it was a little savage and a little disrespectful to Jojua, but like I call him as I see him.
Yeah, and I understand the angle for Jojua because it's like Casey has no takedown defense, but I don't think Jojua is a good submission grappler is the thing. You go back to her debut against Sarah Moras. I mean, she made Sarah look like Tatiana Suarez in there. I mean, she just reversed her easily. She grounded pound, stopped her. Casey is a good submission grappler, brown belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, good output on the feet, 5 inches of reach. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I could see it happening, honestly. She really busted up her nose to Maverick. And once you break it one time, it's that much easier to break it again. So in theory, it could happen. I think I predicted Casey to win by submission. But regardless, I do think she's got a legit chance to get in a dominant position on the ground where it's kind of up to her. Does she want to go for the rear naked choke or does she want to go for the ground and pound like Moras did? So I could see it, man.
Are there any little picks on Monkey Knife Fight that you were looking at before that caught your eye and say, ooh, that's a cheeky nugget?
Yeah, if we could hone in on the fight between Cynthia Calvillo and Andrea Lee, I think it's a pretty interesting.
Yeah. Have you been Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but have you been following the line on this week?
Yeah,
Lee opens up as a pretty decent sized favorite, goes to a pick him. Now Calvillo's a favorite. When I saw Cynthia Calvillo as an underdog, I hit that. I don't see before. I actually wanted to throw this out there before you break it down. I think Andrea Lee is going to think that she's better on the feet. And I think Calvillo's just going to take her down and beat the crap out of her for 3 rounds. That simple.
I would like to think that Calvillo would do that, because if she wants to take Andrea Lee down, I think she will, and she could probably hold her there. The problem with Calvillo, and this is somebody who bet Calvillo in the past, is she just doesn't go to the wrestling as much as I would like her to. She attempts like 4 takedowns per 15 minutes, and against Caitlin Chookagian, I bet like 3 units on there in that spot, because Chookagian doesn't have good takedown offense and she's not a great scrambler, but she just refused to take Chookagian down, just struggled at range. In theory, she could have an easier time here against Andrea, but I'm really, really concerned about Calvillo. Just her last 2 outings, she hasn't looked great. If I knew she was going to go out here and attempt anywhere from 3 to 5 takedowns, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I would maybe even better at this line, but I'm just not certain about that. So I'm picking her to win, but my level of confidence in her isn't egregiously high. From a monkey knife fight perspective, I do like the more and more here. I think we see an extended fight. Both ladies have good output, land over 4 significant strikes per minute. And also, if this fight does go to the ground, we have the potential for non-significant strikes. Those could add up and then, add to the total there. So I like more and more. I barely favor Calvillo here.
Yeah, I'm with you on the more and more. Both these ladies average over 12 minutes of octagon time per appearance, right? And man, I think Calvillo does get it to the ground. She's lost what? She's got 1 win in her last 4 fights. There's a draw and 2 losses in there. She knows what she has to do to get wins. When she was winning fights, she was getting takedowns and she was being that pit bull. I think she has to get back to it. I'm with you. Is there a little bit of concern? Yes, because we didn't see it, but I think she knows what's up. I think they're going to exchange. And I think Calvillo still got some decent boxing, but she's got to take this one to the ground and just hammer out Andrea Lee. That's really where that one's going to be. For me, AJ, I went over to the main card, the main slate, and I found something pretty juicy because, as I said, I'm a fan of the Moron Holloway and the Moron Rodriguez. I mentioned Song Yadong's name. There's actually a more or less with all 3 of them. I took the more on all 3 of them combined. Pays nice. $50 pays $200 on Monkey Knife Fight, folks. So if you're with me, you believe in the schooling and the tutelage of Song Yadong, the pressure of Max Holloway, and the fact that Rodriguez is tough enough to hang in there. That, I think, is a sweet, sweet ticket come Saturday night. AJ, I know you disagree with the Max Holloway and the Yair Rodriguez thing, but I think it's going to be a war for the first 3 rounds. 4th round, Holloway gets Rodriguez, as I said, not to come back. But in those first few rounds, I think Rodriguez is going to have a lot of success chopping at Holloway's legs and landing a lot of those kicks. So I think we'll see a more and more. And Song Yadong is just going to bring the more on Julio Arce. And yeah, finish him late again. All about the late finishes and the mores. Could you tell?
Yeah, and it's good that you brought this up. Somebody was actually, reaching out asking me if there was an alternative that they could play on MKF with not just playing the same fight more or less. And I think that this is a good alternative that you brought up, because if you feel really confident in one fight, 2 options there, and you want to throw in a 3rd leg, like you said, you could increase your payout and it gives you more flexibility on what you could do. So for those of you that weren't already aware, this is a good new feature that we got here. Feel free to take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. You can go, that one's the 3 for 3 pays 4 times, pardon me, and you can go all the way up to 6 for 6. I believe that pays 20 times your buy-in or 15 times your buy-in. So it's pretty awesome, folks. Make sure you check it out and tune in. AJ and I will be back for the pay-per-view card in December, folks. But for myself, you can see all of my picks every weekend on Sports Tree. I break down the biggest picks of the card, biggest fights of the card with picks, cheeky little props, anything that I like that I see across Monkey Knife Fight or any sort of line for that matter. And obviously, AJ does it all. AJMMAbetting.com. If you don't follow him, you should be following him. If you're not subscribed, you should be subscribed. AJ, anything you want to add?
Yeah, sure. And to add on to your point, yeah, they could subscribe to my premium services, or they could subscribe to the newsletter totally for free. There you will receive my newsletter for all my picks for some free content. All you need is your name and your address. You don't even have to put your real name if you don't want to, but the address is required because how else will you get that info? So thanks for the shout out, Connor. And yeah, please be sure to check out Trees 3, guys. Connor's been killing it. He's been doing picks for not just UFC, but other sports as well. So yeah, cheers and good luck, everybody.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. And AJ, just one last thing. How do we, easiest way to sign up to the newsletter? Is it just in your bio on all of your Twitter space across your social media, or we just head to the website to do it?
Yeah, just all you need to do is head to ajmmabetting.com. On the homepage, just scroll down a little bit. There's a mailing list form on the left-hand side. Yeah, there's just a name and an email address, and then you just hit join, and then there you go. You'll get an email automation, and then you'll have that in your inbox.
Well, AJ and I will see you in December, folks, for a pretty stacked card. But man, oh man, we're excited for this weekend. Folks, I'm Connor Roundtree. That's AJ Shulo. And remember to hit it hard.